Hello, everyone, and welcome you all to another chapter of the MS Word tutorial. So now we are on our chapter number 6, where we'll be working with tables. So here in this particular chapter, we're gonna learn that how you will be able to work with tables inside MS Word, how to create one, different ways to do so. So let's not waste time and let's get started. So over here, as you guys can basically see, now again, I am at the same document in which we do have learned in our last class. Okay, so we do have talked about bullets, numbering, and also about multi-level list. And here in this chapter, we're gonna work or we're gonna learn basically about the table. Okay, so in many cases, you have to use a table inside your Word document. So if you want me to show you guys an example in what cases you do use that, so let me just click on open. Let's browse into my PC. Let's go into my resource file and I will just open up the sample Word document. And here in this particular thing over here, you guys can basically see that, well, here I do have a table. So there's particular tables are basically used for a lot of purposes. Let it be for numbers, let it be for storing any information about a particular individual, or let it be for some very important information as well. Okay. In a list format, you are just saving those because it's very easy to look and very easy to identify. Okay. So that is how you guys basically use table. And as we have understood about the usage over here, now let's get started on how to create one. Okay. So as you guys can see on top, I do have this different kind of tab right over here. From the home tab, now we need to go just beside into the insert tab. And here, as you guys can see, once I do have clicked on insert, I do have this particular option known as table. Okay. So once I click on this arrow sign of knowing a table, here you guys can see that I do have these square boxes right over here. And I do have an option known as insert table. I do have an option of drawing a table by myself of how I want it. I do have the option of exporting a spreadsheet. Okay, if you don't know what an Excel spreadsheet is, so Excel is basically another kind of software where the interface or the document is only made up of rows and columns. Okay, so there basically you guys will be able to store a lot of information quite easier, very easy to do different kind of mathematical equations, well, using different formulas. But now let's try and get started of how you can easily create a table. So here, as you guys can see, all of this particular table or this particular boxes, if you just go down here, these things are basically known as rows. Okay. So as you guys can see, I am basically adding different rows to it. So over here, if you do want to add so many rows, you guys can basically add so many rows. Let's say I do have selected 3 rows and I do want 3 columns. So here, if you guys can see now, I do have in total 9 cells, and over here also I do have in total as 9 cells. Okay, so I will also tell you guys about what cell is. So if I just click right over here, you guys can basically see that now I am inside my table. Okay, and once you have created a table automatically in this particular document inside your tab, you will have a new tab known as the table design, where you do have all the options of how you want to basically design your table, Okay, how you want it to represent, what kind of borders you want, what is the table size you're looking for, what kind of shading are you going to use. It totally depends, and you do have all of these options inside the table design. And also over here, you also do have this option known as layout. Okay, so we're gonna talk about that later into our classes, but this is the way of how you can insert a table. And if you just come out of the table here, you guys can see automatically all the options available in this table are basically gone. But again, if I just come inside this table, I again do have both of this option known as table design and layout right over here. So this is one way of creating a table. And if you do want to insert a table, you guys can come here, click on insert table, and by default, you guys can select that how many number of columns you need. Okay, let me just go with 2 columns and 3 rows. Okay, and also they're asking that how you want your column width. Like, do you want it to be auto, or do you want to auto fit to the contents? Let's say if you write something according to your text, your table will basically resize. Okay, or do you want auto fit to window? So I will just create one which is there at first, known as fixed column width, and I'll just click on OK. And this is how it basically looks. Because my cursor was at that particular point, that's why they have already created this particular thing inside over here. But now if I just come here, let's click on enter, let's go to insert, let's go to table, let's click on insert table. I will just select 3 columns and 2 rows. I will click on OK. And here you guys can see I do have 3 columns and I do have 2 rows over here. So if you just take out a look over here, now you guys will be able to see that I do have some sign over here on top. Okay, so over here using this particular option, if you do want to move this thing out, you guys can basically move this thing out from here as well. Okay, so if you do want to move it, you guys can basically move this particular table out. And also if you do want to resize this one here, you guys can see you guys can basically resize it according to yourself as well. Let's say in this particular place only you do want 3 rows and 4 columns, so likewise you guys can actually do that. Okay, so let me just come over here, let me just fit this particular thing right here itself. And now you guys can just move this one up. Okay, and I'll just bring this one back again, and here you guys can see you guys can just move out the table accordingly. And also here, once you do have created this table, here if you just go on to this particular options or on the sides of this, here you guys can see that I do have this plus sign. So using the plus sign, what you guys can do is you guys can basically add a more row to it. If you just select the row option over here, and if you want to add more columns, you guys can come here and you guys can basically add more columns to it as well. So if I just click plus here, you guys can see now basically I'm adding more rows over here. And now if I just come to this particular position here, I can basically add more of it as well. So let it be just 3 rows and 3 columns for now over here. And just let's come down. Okay, so let's come down right over here. Let's click on insert. And now if you want to put inside any Excel spreadsheet over here, you guys can also do that. Okay, so if you just click on Excel spreadsheet right over here, here you guys can see now you guys are able to insert an Excel spreadsheet just inside your Word document. Okay, so you guys can basically do all the equation. If you do want to create more sheets inside, you guys can basically do that as well. So I'll just go back because I don't want it over here. So let's delete this whole thing. And lastly, over here, if you do need any kind of quick tables, here in quick tables, you do have the calendar format of different types. Over here, you do have tabular list. And for whatever purpose you are using this table, you guys can select any of this and basically use those accordingly inside. Okay. So now I hope till this much it's clear of how you will be able to insert a table, how you will be able to uh, insert an Excel spreadsheet, how you will be able to use a quick table. But now let me show you guys that how you will be able to draw a table according to your liking. As you guys can see, my cursor is right over here. So if I just click on the mouse and if I just make a box, here you guys can see that I do have created a box. So this is basically my table. So now over here, you guys can see I do have a pencil-like structure for my mouse. And if I just create or if I just create one line over here, you guys can see that I do have created a column over here. So now let's say I don't want the same spacing. I want to keep the middle part more big compared to the other. So in that case, now let's come here and let's create a column on the last, and also over here, let's create a column right over here itself. And now I want to make this top row and I want to make a bottom row quite like this. And inside, I want to store all of my information. So that thing you guys will be able to do right over here. And once you are writing a table as well, you guys can see you do have this layout options over here. So, well, now we do have understood how to basically draw a table as well. So we just have learned that how to draw or insert or how to make a table. But now we are going to learn the thing inside a table as well. Okay. So first we need to understand that what is a cell. Okay. So a cell is basically a box which is made out of columns and rows. Okay. So over here, a column and row both basically makes a cell. So as you guys can see, my cursor is basically inside a cell. So this is one individual cell. This is an individual cell. This is one. So in this particular table, I do have 9 cells in total. Okay, so that is basically a cell over here. And as you guys have already drawn this table, let's say you want to erase something. Okay, so in that case, you guys can just take out the eraser and basically click on that particular part and it will be deleted. So over here, you guys can come here and basically erase that particular part, whichever you don't want. So you guys can actually create your table accordingly by using the eraser as well. Okay. So that is about it. Now let's come here and here you guys can see that in this table options, let's go to this layout option. I will just go to the draw table. And now from here, let's go to the table design. Let's say I do have this particular table, or let me just come here and select this particular table. And under this here, you do have a lot of options which you guys can use. Let's say if you do want to take this particular table, you guys can do that. If you want to take the other one, you guys can actually do that as well. Okay, so you guys can choose what kind you basically want from here. And if you want to explore new table style, here you guys can basically set up your new table style as well. Okay, so as you guys can see, now I will just come right over here And from here, let's say I will just take this one. And here you guys can see I do have turned it in this particular color. Okay. And well, instead of this one, if I just go with this blue one, or let me just go with this other ones, you guys can do that. And inside here you also do have option like, do you want a plain table over here, do you want this kind of table? These are some of the presets of a plain table. These are different presets of a grid table. And last, you do have different kind of list tables as well. Okay. And from here, now, whatever you do have applied, let's say you do have applied this particular table style over here. Okay. So you guys can just reverse that thing out as well. Okay. If you just go to tables side, if you do want to clear everything, you guys can just clear the whole table itself. Okay. And also you guys can always choose the plain table. Okay. And under here, you do have option of a new table style and also modifying the table style. So over here, you guys can see the table style, which you do have selected, is named as table grid. And here you guys can see what kind of font is being used, what is the size. Here you guys can actually see the preview over here itself. Like if you want to give it up to different numbers and stuff, you guys can basically give it different style and also change the numbers as well. So let me just cancel it right over here. If you want to put out some shading, let's say in this particular cell, you want to put out this shading, you guys can individually do that as well. So let's come here. I do have selected this whole row, and to this whole row, I will just give this one up a shading. So I can come here and individually give shading to a set of row or to a set of column as well. Okay. So that is about it. Let's come right over here. Let's go to table design. Here you guys can select what is going to be your border style. Okay, so there are different kind of theme borders. If you want to use any, you guys can come here and you guys can use all of this accordingly. So here you guys can see you guys can use accordingly. And also you guys can select the borders, which we do have already talked about. Okay, these different kind of borders right over here, different kind of border styles. And if you want to keep spaces for the header row, it will basically show the header row. If you want to include the first column, it will do so. And here you do have the options of last column, banded columns, and total row. Okay, so these are different kind of table style option. Like when you are creating a table, do you want to keep a header row separate? Do you want to keep a first column as separate? Or do you want banded columns? Okay, so these are the options available inside the table design tab. And I hope this class was clear. As we are getting started with table, we do have learned that how to create one, how to insert an Excel spreadsheet inside your Word document, as Excel is also a software by Microsoft. So it's very easy to collab both of those particular thing in one single document. So in our next class, we're gonna learn more about table. We are going to dive deeper into this particular topic. So I hope to see you all in the next chapter. Till then, take care and goodbye, everyone.